Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome, everybody, to the B.O.S.S podcast. I'm your host, Ganguzza, along with my lovely co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hello.
Gabby, today we're going to talk about, I think, something that is prevalent right now in the industry news.
Yeah.
That is the hashtag #MeToo campaign. And I think it's something that we need to talk about, and we need to get out into the open if we can, so that we can hopefully move forward.
Moving forward, of course, in a positive way, not a forgetful way, not a dismissive way, but something healthy and productive. I think there's a couple things we need to sort of start about this podcast and this conversation, which is number one, Me Too applies not just to women.
Exactly.
It can very easily apply to men as well. That being said, we do know that obviously, statistically speaking, women are more likely to be victims of sexual harassment and inappropriate sexual conduct. Everyone is afraid to speak out.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons on these topics. There's the fear of being shunned. There's the social stigma. There is the fear of
not being able to work.
So in the last couple of days, we have seen a lot of our fellow voice actresses very bravely stand up and hashtag Me Too. And some of them have told their stories. Some have just opted to say, hey, I'm right there with you. I know what it's like. We had a little bit of a voiceover shakeup as a result.
First of all, before we actually get to that, I'd like to kind of point out that for all of the hashtag MeToos that we've seen, I think that there are maybe so many more that we're not seeing, again, for the reasons, Gabby, that you talked about earlier, being afraid of speaking out because of maybe you won't be able to get work. I will tell you that I was one of those women that put Me Too in my feed, and that's all I put. However, I do want to contribute and let it be known that it is so much more widespread than maybe people are talking about. And that's why I'm so glad that we are here today talking about it, Gabby, because I think it's very important. Yesterday, Gabby, I saw something in the voiceover thread that really was surprising to me. It shook me up. And gosh, then I called you and asked if you had seen the thread.
Which I hadn't, but unfortunately, its topic was not unknown to me. Let's talk about it. So tell me about I guess, how you stumbled upon this or how you became privy to the post and what was going on.
Well, it just happened to be in a voiceover Facebook group, and it was allegations about a certain member of the voiceover community that was harassing other members of the community, and apparently it had been going on for a while. But apparently, when I asked some of my other colleagues about it, it was not a surprise. And my first question, Gabby, is why? Why? I feel like I didn't know about it, but there were so many people that did. And why did it take until now for it to come out? Why so long, apparently, if this had been going on for years? And that's a little distressing to me.
Let's back up just 1 second. I mean, let's just really, I think, make sure that this is abundantly clear and that we're not being too vague on the topic, right? So there is a very well-known, very, shall we say respected voiceover coach in the New York market, that's as much as I'll say regarding identity, who has been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior and advances towards a variety of women in the voiceover community. And so a lot of people have now stepped up, I guess, and started to come out and tell their stories. Much like what's going on in Hollywood, it wasn't really a huge shock to a lot of people.
I do want to point out, though, too, to our listeners that it's difficult for Gabby and I to talk about it, actually, and we're just kind of talking about it now. And so at least I feel that it's an important first step. That although parts of this podcast may seem awkward to you, it is awkward, and it's awkward talking about it. But I think Gabby and I are really wanting to let you guys know that, you know what, these things, they are happening.
The unfortunate thing, I think, is that realistically, there are always going to be predators. Can you completely avoid putting yourself or having yourself be put in a bad position and somewhere you don't want to be? Not always. Most of the stories and most of the things you hear women say are, of course, things like, I was just too nice or too agreeable, or I didn't want to be rude, or
it took them by complete surprise, which is something, if you knew to anticipate it, you probably would stay away. But for most of these cases, it was a complete surprise. I guess if there's a mindset to the predator, that is really what they prey upon, is the fact that you're in a situation where you're going to be taken by surprise, so that way it can happen, right? I guess.
Well,
I don't really know. I'm not. I don't want to put myself too much into the predator's mind, but I can only try to assume.
Well, I mean, let's be realistic, right? It's usually closed quarters. It's not a public situation. There's only one or two people there. It's very intimate settings, and unfortunately, when we talk about voiceover, especially the relationship between a coach and a trainee, if you will, the student, that relationship is very one-on-one. And
well, plus there's a trust that the student has in that person, typically,
of course,
to be able to guide them in the right direction, to be able to coach them. And so that is definitely being taken advantage of, that trust.
And I mean, one of the things that we definitely hear repeatedly, the advice that's given, is you have to speak up, regardless of what was happening prior, regardless of any comment you might have made, regardless of whether or not originally it was, two people joking or flirting. The moment the situation crosses a line that you are not comfortable with, you have to say something. That is the moment to find your courage. Who do you say
that to, Gabby?
Well, initially it is the person who's being inappropriate. Initially, it is that predator. It is stopping in that instance, finding your courage and saying no. And it's removing yourself as quickly as possible.
I'm going to say that there are going to be people out there that will say that was done. As a matter of fact, I can attest to it myself, where I was like, this is not acceptable. And then the response was, oh, come on, it's just a joke. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke. You can't take a joke. To stop or to say no would have cost a lot of people's jobs. It would have cost a lot of humiliation for not just the person, but the person's family, the person's children, the people that the person was in contact with on a daily basis as a trusted coach and a trusted confidant.
In a traditional work environment, as scary as it still might be, and as much as you fear the repercussions, not only for yourself, but maybe for that other person, there's an HR department, there is protocols, there's someone you can go to, there's management, there's something in place typically that allows you to go and make a report and have something that's put on this person's file to let others know what took place. And then it's up to the company to decide, what actions become appropriate. In voiceover, we don't have that. If you're a student and you're working with a voiceover coach,
Yeah, where do you
go to?
Who do you report that to?
Who do you report
this to?
Who's the
head of HR?
Look at how awkward we are right now.
I know.
Just trying to talk about this.
Right?
It is awkward and it is uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable because, in a sense, we've been taught that it's supposed to be uncomfortable. You don't talk about these things.
Right.
Well, there is part of the process of healing from it, educating, changing this norm by talking about it, by making it a comfortable conversation. We begin to break down those walls and break down that barrier. And so when you called me and you said, were you aware of this? I said, yeah, I did know. Mm-hmm. I knew. A lot of other people know that this coach has been named in very predatory behavior over the years. And you were stunned. And then, of course, that led us to the direction of the conversation of, well, why isn't anyone saying anything?
Right.
And, you know, I don't have any good answer there. I just don't.
And I don't
I
either.
have to-
I just think that we need to talk. We need to have a
I know.
discussion. And I think that, like you were just saying, I think that there needs to be a new norm. And, you know, you guys, it's so difficult for me to talk because, again, I don't want to step on any, I don't want to insult anybody. I don't want to offend anybody that maybe this has happened to. And I'm trying to find the right words to even talk about it. But please know that I'm trying to talk about it. And Gabby and I are talking about it because we really think that, if nothing else, there needs to be a change. There needs to be a pedagogical change. Is that a word? Is that the word? Change in
It
the
is now.
way. Yeah, pedagogical. There needs to be a change in the way that these things are dealt with, or perhaps maybe we all need to be a little uncomfortable so that they come out and then it's known. I think there's only, one way to really help solve a situation is to really just get the problem out in the open so that you can discuss what things can be done to solve the problem. And I think that talking about it is the step one to really hopefully helping and repairing and I don't know, hopefully, having this happen never ever
Yeah.
again.
I mean, and while I totally agree with that, there is part of me that's still baffled. I sit here and I think about the data and I go, okay, I've been sitting on this knowledge for 3 or 4 years, maybe a little bit longer. Other people may have known even longer than I.
Mm-hmm.
I've had mutual students come to me and account for me the details of what took place. And I'm like, man, oh man, I don't know. What do you do with this? And then you go, we're an industry that, as we all know, and Anne, you and I talk about it all the time, a welcoming, loving, embracing community that holds each other up, that cheers each other on. So why in the hell do we think that if I step forward with this damning piece of information, why would the industry shun me? Why would the industry turn its back on me? Is that the fear? Because I would hope not.
I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
Is it the fear that you won't be able to you'll never work in this town again, that kind of thing? The old casting couch sort of, philosophy of, or do this and you will be in my favor and, I will make it easy for you to get work. Is that what it was all about?
I don't know how much you know about the singer-artist Kesha, but, I mean, this is the very nature of the topic related to her comeback right now. So, I don't know. It's,
Well, you're seeing a lot of similar stories.
It hurts
that are
my
coming.
heart.
Well, yeah, and you're seeing a lot
Yeah.
of similar stories coming out of the, Weinstein. So, I want to say that, in this type of an instance, that the majority of people in the voiceover community will be there to support you if you were to speak out. And I would hope that if this has happened to any of you out there, of our listeners, that, you would feel comfortable to speak out about it and confide in someone about it and let them help you if they can.
My take on this, since the very first Me Too hashtag that I saw, I went, well, who isn't a Me Too? Find me a woman that is not able to identify with that. Find me another female who isn't able to say, yes, me too. And men, can they be involved in it? Yes, of course.
Yes.
And there are many men who can say me too, but for women, it's like it's a common denominator. That's one of the reasons why we've all sort of accepted it. I think there's an age where you just sort of go, well, this is what happens. We've all been there. It sucks, but oh well.
And
that's
again,
what has to change.
And again, because Gabby and I are talking about women who have been affected, that certainly doesn't mean that we don't talk about men, but can pretty much say that it's probably the majority of women that can say me too. They just haven't spoken up about it.
Correct.
So Gabby, what do we do? What do we do about this? This is the question of the day. What can we do? What can we do as a collective? What can we do here at B.O.S.S to help you guys out there? If you want to tell your stories.
Feel like number one, yes. If you'd like to share, if you would like to tell us your experience, we're all ears, and you do have a community that is going to embrace you and support you. And I think the other thing we do is we keep the conversation going, we keep the dialogue open, we take the stigma out of talking about it.
Yes.
And when it comes to men, and when it comes to really the next generation, when it comes to sons and brothers and young males, they do need to be taught what's acceptable and what isn't. It does need to be an open discussion with them about what is appropriate and inappropriate, because unfortunately it's not discussed, and that's one of the reasons why it continues.
Absolutely.
We know it's wrong, but it doesn't mean anyone's talking about it.
Well, absolutely. And it needs to be talked about so more frequently than not, so that it becomes something that is now a new norm, that it's not okay. There are lines. It is not okay to bypass those lines. And we need to teach our young people that, for sure. That has to be part of the normal conversation. And so hopefully at V.O.S.S, we're here helping, at least taking step one of that, and offering an ear to listen to any of you that might want to, call in with your story. We're happy to listen to you. We're happy to be here for you, offer you that place where you can speak out. If you wish to remain anonymous, of course we can do that as well. So we invite you to talk with us about it, and talk with everybody about it in the community, so that we can make it better.
This is unfortunately the plague that's been going on in Hollywood for as long as anyone remembers. The old joke about the casting couch. If one person speaks up, could you prevent this from happening? Could you prevent this trauma for others? And that's really the goal. That's why it's so important that we speak out.
Thank you guys for being a part of the podcast, and for listening, and for being a part of a healing journey.
Yeah. And we know that this is deep. This is heavy. This is
hard. This is hard.
It is hard.
This is not easy at all, Gabby. It's
no.
I just sit here and I shake my head. I'm like, this is hard. This is so hard. Oh gosh.
But sometimes we got to do the hard thing.
That's right.
So, yeah, we're glad you're here with us, and as always, we want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, IPDTL, for the quality connection. And, in this case, but in many of our other episodes too, the level of intimacy that they afford us with our communications.
Yes, absolutely.
It really does make a tremendous difference, especially with a topic like this, to have that quality, and to be able to be right there with you guys. And to have that virtual handhold, I think is so important.
Guys, know that we're here for you, and please connect with us and contact with us. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher, as well as YouTube. Make sure to visit us on voboss.com so you can check out our new university classes and products, as well as other exclusive content and offers.
Take care, guys. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.
Join us next week for another edition of V.O.S.S with your hosts, Ann Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.